why I really believe I am the strongest candidate in this race is that my policy experience is statewide. So working at Mincher as a planning director on the policy team, I rolled out policy for the entire state of Minnesota. So I did have to take into consideration all Minnesotans. I have not only policy experience, but I work directly in community. I work with those who are unsheltered. I work with people coming in from the encampments daily.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.
So, how's the campaign been going? Do you have funny campaign stories to tell me as a thing to start this podcast with?
Funny campaign story. Nothing funny has happened so far. To be honest.
That sounds like a very political answer. I'm sure you've had so many funny things happen to you that you won't share because it would be politically inconvenient.
Maybe another time.
Well, what are we going to do for the chit chat segment?
Let's see. For the chit chat, I mean, it's been good. It's been really good. I can say that. It's been really good. It's been really good connecting with the community. I've been driving around South Side of this district so much that I feel like I'm going to know at the back of my hand so well. Everything is deja vu, so it's really good.
So you're having a good first-time candidate experience?
Yeah, actually, I am. So I go out door knocking with my field director, Matt, and it's so funny. Conversations will go on for so long. They'll try to nudge me away, and I'm like, but one more thing, and the conversation just keeps going. So it's been really good. And then, making phone calls to delegates, that I've also really been enjoying, just because, the delegates in our district, they are so well informed, and they care so much that I've been learning a lot from them.
Well, you've fulfilled my requirement for the chit chat segment. You've filled some airtime here, and we're ready to begin for real. This is the Wedge Live podcast. I'm your host, John Edwards. My guest today is the third in a series of conversations with Minnesota House candidates in District 62B, Anquam Mahamoud, COO of a local healthcare company and candidate for Minnesota House in 62B. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I always start with transportation. Give me your transportation vision for Minneapolis, for the state of Minnesota. What do you hope to accomplish transportation-wise if you're elected?
Yeah, I'd love to see our city become a more walkable city. Right now, our city is built for cars. And, our community members also want to be able to see that. People want to be able to run across the street and be able to grab groceries. So with transit, we want to be able to connect the city far better and make, the routine routes more frequent. And really, it would bring more social justice and economic justice to our city. So I think it's so important to be able to invest in transit. Yeah.
So on your website, you talk about single-payer healthcare. That's a big priority. You work in healthcare. You have worked in healthcare. So this made me think, reading your priorities, DFL trifecta in control of state government for the last 2 sessions, and I haven't really heard that as a topic raised. They've accomplished a lot of things, but you don't hear about that often. And so I'm wondering, what do you think the obstacles to that are? Why is that not talked about more? Why wasn't that one of the things we already accomplished?
Healthcare for all, or single payer?
Yeah.
From my understanding, having spoke with some representatives, it is an issue that, you know, constituents care about, but it's about prioritizing it. So for me, I think it's really important getting individuals in there that will prioritize healthcare for all, or really having constituents, you know, voice that to their elected officials. My understanding also is the hesitation with moving forward is the initial investment into creating that. And the way I see it is the investment will always be the investment. So we should go ahead and prioritize that and move forward. And in the long run, it will benefit the state and it'll benefit the people.
A lot of candidates in 62B have mentioned that we want to close Smith Foundry, want to close the HERC. Thinking of Smith Foundry and other like polluting companies in the district, like, what is the mechanism if you get elected for closing a business like that?
Yeah, so I grew up in East Phillips, and I remember, you know, growing up where there were strange odors that would come through, and we didn't know, my family in particular, didn't know where it was coming from or what it was, or what harms it had on us. So it's so important for me that we remove the Smith factory from our neighborhoods. We are seeing children with higher asthma rates. And, you know, we're at a point where it is so important that we remove polluters from our communities, as our communities not being looked out for by these sort of factories. So I would go in with buying out the Smith factory, and also I would support that, and I would also look into and ensure that we are finding just transitions for workers to be a part of the redevelopment plan, and ensuring that, you know, their individuals are not laid off or without work.
Okay, I'm going to ask for this one. I'm going to ask you to look back on your life, your recent history, a time when you saw a problem in the community and you stood up and showed some leadership to help address that problem.
I would say when I was at Mincher, my first year, I was taking calls from Greater Minnesota, and one story that has stuck with me was a woman who she enrolled in her health plan during open enrollment, and then 6 months later, she needed a blood transfusion, which was a life-saving procedure, and her plan didn't cover it. She was locked out. So I took a number of calls like this the first year, and those were really difficult calls to take. So when I grew in the organization and became a planning director on the policy team, I took those stories to help influence our policy here in the state of Minnesota. So what we ended up seeing was there was the removal of the top tier plan that covered so much more benefits, that the following year that was removed so that it was more affordable and, you know, people could get better coverage.
Did you work in healthcare pre-ACA or did you come in with Mincher?
Yeah, I did. I worked in a adult daycare and medical and transportation providers.
I wonder if young people these days understand what a big change like Obamacare was, the ACA. Because it's not that long ago that you could be discriminated against for pre-existing conditions. Medicaid was not as expansive as it is now, which has been a huge change. I don't know. Do you find that young people today understand? Can we talk about young people these days and what they understand about our healthcare system?
We wanted to compare, you know, now versus before. I don't know that they remember, right?
It was really bad. As bad as people think it is now. Oh, it was so much worse.
Sure. Okay. I understand. Yeah, it was really bad before. It was really bad. We have definitely made progress. And yes, to your point, I'm really proud of, the history that we made here in the state of Minnesota by removing pre-existing conditions or the bar for pre-existing conditions. But I would agree that we still have a lot of work to be done. I'll say that with the ACA, we had over here, just in the state of Minnesota, over 1 million people who received healthcare coverage who've never had healthcare coverage. So that was pretty amazing. And those were great calls to take. Those were really great calls to take, to hear from individuals who benefited from it and were just so ecstatic and so happy to have healthcare coverage and being able to go see a physician when they needed to.
Let's talk about education. This is a very difficult question. So can you define the problem for public schools and how you would use your role at the legislature to strengthen public schools in Minneapolis?
Minneapolis public schools, currently there's a $110 million deficit. And I'm speaking to teachers and parents are devastated about the program cuts as their kids are coming home upset. There's a program that kept them interested in attending school, that kept them excited, like a journalism course or a journalism club, and these programs are being cut. Special education is not adequately funded, and so schools are being forced to even cut into core curriculum like math in order to try to offset that. So our schools are underfunded. I've already spoken to some individuals who are staff at school or teachers, and their programs are cut for next year, and they don't know that when or if they'll return. There is so much work to be done, but immediately going into this position, I would prioritize getting funding on the table immediately to prevent budget cuts, to ensure that, our teachers and our staff are paid family living wages. And our students are supported. So I do believe if we support our teachers, that means we support our students. And I think it's really important to also focus on ensuring that we have BIPOC teachers in schools. We need to invest in that, honestly, and invest in retention of BIPOC teachers as well. So yeah, I would look at abundantly funding our public schools.
Am I doing a good job of keeping this fun? I saw that you did a conversation with Southside Pride, David Tilson. I saw a little bit of that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Am I keeping this more fun than he did?
Did I look like I was having fun?
I could. I didn't watch very much of it, but I do have a sense of competition with anyone who is putting candidates on YouTube, as I am, and also on a podcast. And I want to know who you prefer, me or David Tilson.
Come on. Two different things. Come on. I've had really great conversations with David Tilson that are really like heart to heart. So
that wasn't the first time?
No. That was not the first time.
That guy really puts himself out there, I guess.
He's a legend. He is a legend in the community.
I'm pledging for every candidate I talk to, it's the only time I will ever talk to them. I'm not coming back to do this again.
No? Why? You're keeping everyone connected as well.
That's right. I do an important public service.
You do.
Uber and Lyft, I'm sure you're following the conversation. Very specifically, do you think what the city council passed is the right amount for driver pay? They've said maybe we'll come back and adjust it based on the state numbers that are there. Does it need to be adjusted down to prevent Uber and Lyft from following through on their threats? Like, where do you come down?
Yeah, so one, I'll say I'm really proud of our Uber and Lyft drivers for fighting for livable wages and fighting for themselves, to be honest. And I am really proud of the city of Minneapolis for backing them. I'll say I do remember a time when Uber and Lyft were, or Uber specifically, was first coming into the state and providing services. How excited my uncles were to even become an Uber driver, right? I remember them coming to my mom and telling her that they're now going to be independent contractors and they're going to own their own business, and they invested in buying new cars so that, you know, they could have the higher level car option, and they were making really good money. You know, they went from being taxi drivers to what they were then business owners. So that was really exciting. And, you know, now that it's phased out taxi services here, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Uber drivers are now having to fight for living wages. When it comes to the exact numbers, I know that the city of Minneapolis is going back and looking at what makes the most sense. So I'll just wait for that and see. But I absolutely do support our Uber and Lyft drivers making income that makes sense, honestly. That, you know, living wages are important.
I've been a little frustrated that we're just taking the company's word for it. Like, we're going to leave if you don't do what we say. Like, why do we believe that they will leave? They've been a company that's been underpaying their workers for a very long time. I don't like the idea. I don't know if the numbers are right, but I also don't like the idea of letting these companies, these kind of predatory companies, push the city around and the state around.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Here, I'm going to run through some bills that are being considered at the state legislature. The first one related to the Minneapolis 2040 plan that would amend the Minnesota Environmental Rights Act so it can't be used against Minneapolis 2040 and other cities who would like to add more housing in their comprehensive plans. Do you support that?
The 2040 plan?
So not necessarily the 2040 plan, but the bill to fix the Minnesota Environmental Rights Act. It's basically the law that is being used to sue the 2040 plan and hold up its implementation. And so there's a bill that would amend that law to basically say you cannot sue over comprehensive plans on the basis of adding housing density.
Okay, yes. Okay, so I support moving forward with the 2040 plan because the environment is really important, but with denser cities, and I think that we end up protecting the environment. So, yeah, did I answer your question?
I think you did.
Yeah.
That's basically, well, who am I to say what the correct answers are? But I like the answer.
Okay. Good.
One of the people who endorsed you is the author of that bill at the legislature, Omar.
Senator Omar Fatah. Yeah, he's making great strides. It's amazing.
So another housing and land use thing, the missing middle bill that would legalize statewide, it would legalize duplexes and fourplexes, provide density bonuses for affordability and sustainable building practices.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for myself personally, growing up, we moved around Southside so much, just chasing the cheapest rent. So, you know, and some landlords took advantage of that situation where we grew up in conditions where, you know, wires were sticking out and maintenance wouldn't come and fix it. My mom would duct tape it over and, you know, eventually it would stick out again. And we had situations where we lived in places that were mice infested and roach infested, and no child should grow up in those sort of living conditions. I think this really helps with that by increasing the supply of affordable housing in our cities. It I absolutely support it. I think it would be great. I think it's so important that individuals have safe, secure, affordable housing where they can sleep peacefully at night, and where families can also put money away for savings as well.
Okay, here's another one. There's a bill that would eliminate parking minimums statewide. What do you think about that one?
I think that makes sense. As you know, I think it makes sense to build parking as needed, versus a required number where we use up land space that could have been used for something that makes more sense. We are trying to build a denser city, which would benefit the environment and benefit, families who are so reliant on, well, our city is so reliant on cars. We would be able to use it for like better modes of transportation, that extra space. So I would say absolutely, I would support that.
Traffic enforcement cameras. So dangerous driver behavior is up. An average of around 150 people are killed or severely injured in traffic crashes in Minneapolis every year. Speeding and red light running are a problem. Do you think legalizing traffic enforcement cameras is a good idea?
I would look into that a bit more and really talk to the constituents about where we as a community are within forcing cameras, only because I definitely want to move towards zero fatalities, traffic fatalities. And it's traffic cameras in, I believe, 21 other states have really shown a decrease in those fatalities. So they have been successful in that. But I also understand that there are concerns about surveillance, and being an East African Muslim woman, I understand that concern. Coming from a group of individuals who have been heavily surveillanced here in the state of Minnesota, if not nationally. I would say those concerns are valid. So that's a conversation to have with the constituents, and then I would consider that before supporting or not supporting this.
Homelessness. What do you see? What is your role at the legislature to help Minneapolis address encampments?
I work at a substance treatment center over on Hennepin and Lake and mental health provider. So I work directly with individuals from the encampments and underserved communities. I understand the importance of a holistic approach where, I have a client come in from the encampment who is not a person in the system because they don't have ID, they don't have papers. So for us, I'm really proud of our team because I've built it out so that when somebody comes in asking for help, we first get them help and then worry about the paperwork later. But what that looks like is I will help get them a driver's license, their social security, then help them get enrolled in healthcare coverage. And, when they're firm into like steady footing in their recovery journey, will help them find employment, which is a confidence boost, and then find permanent housing the closer they get to graduation so that they have something to look forward to and they know what life looks like outside of treatment and once they graduate. And we've seen such great success with that. And also from the beginning of that, we provide lodging. So we understand that housing first is so important and vital in that. So I would say housing first is a priority. And then I would also, in the position, I would take that holistic lens that I have from working with individuals in the encampment to say, I would look at, solutions with our city council members as a partnership. I know City Council member Jason Chavez, it was able to secure funding to build out Avivo is here in South Minneapolis, the tiny villages, like the Avivo tiny villages in South Minneapolis. So I would want to champion funding for that as well, to match what the city is able to collect or, secure. And then we need to build out more affordable housing and really increase the supply of that. So when talking about the encampments, I really think there is a holistic approach that we need to look at and develop, and that is the sort of lens that I do want to take to the state legislature.
So here's a follow-up, because you're close to this issue, and maybe you can give me a really good answer. So people who live near encampments are at times can be really fed up. Like, I don't want to live near this. Please make it go away. And it's not necessarily that they are cruel people. It's just like they are deeply affected by it,
Yeah.
and don't have time for it. And some of the solutions to it may be seen as longer term things. It's a very long-winded way of me asking, is the city wrong for evicting encampments? A lot of people are cheering on Jacob Fry for removing the problem, but not really removing the problem, because it just moves a block away or 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
I don't know. This may not be your role at the legislature, but as a person who is close to this issue, how should people understand what is the right thing to do today as the problem exists, right next door to me potentially, and making sure people get help too, and not just shuffling them around. What is the right balance? What do we do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The way the city is currently responding, it doesn't help. It's inhumane and ineffective. I would say it is important that shelter capacity is also hit its cap. It's at 350% in Hennepin County. So we do need to build mass shelters. I think, also investing in tiny villages would also be a solution that we would push for. But yeah, currently the sweeps are not helpful. They're not doing anything for the residents and our residents in the encampments.
Think of yourself 20 years in the future. You've served 10 terms in the Minnesota House. You've kind of fallen into a rut. You haven't run for higher office. What issue do people think of as your signature issue that you've just shown so much leadership on?
Healthcare for all.
Okay.
I've spent over 10 years in healthcare and over 6.5 years with policy implementation in the state of Minnesota. And so from the ACA perspective, I've seen how people fall through the cracks. And as a provider, I've seen how people fall through the cracks of our healthcare system. And I think we need to push for healthcare for all. And I want to be the leader in that.
Pretend I'm a delegate. I'm calling you on the phone. No, you're calling me on the phone. Delegates don't call you. You call delegates.
Well, actually, sometimes they do.
Okay.
But yes, I'm mostly calling.
Give me your opening line. The phone is ringing. It's ringing. I leave it ringing for 8 rings. But you're persistent and you stay on the line. And I finally answer it. Hello.
Oh, hello. This is Anam. I'm a candidate running for State Representative 62B. How are you today?
We need more police. More police.
Please tell me more. What are your concerns?
I'm very concerned about public safety. The city council is terrible, and you're running for the state legislature. What are you going to do?
I look into. I'm supporting, first of all, alternative programs, humane alternative programs. I think that's really important coming into the community. We do have some great alternative programs and some pilot programs, and I would love to continue or champion to continue funding those here in Minneapolis. The community is very excited about these pilot programs, so or new alternative humane public safety programs. But I would ask you, what services are you wanting to see expanded?
Oh, you're turning it all. You're turning the skit back around on me.
Yeah, I want
I
to
don't
hear
know
from
if I
the
can.
delegates. I want to hear what they. I want to hear from the delegates.
I'm afraid of where I might go if I'm forced to inhabit this rude delegate character any further.
You're telling it. Yeah. Yeah, it's about
Listen, I'm not.
listening.
This liberal nonsense that you're spouting, your talking points, I'm not going to tolerate it. I want more police. The people are running around shooting off guns, and it needs to be handled.
I absolutely agree. We do need services. We do need our police to protect the citizens. I think that's really important. One thing I will say is a priority of mine would be police reform. This isn't how I speak with the delegate, but I am bringing up the importance of police reform to say, because more so my conversation with delegates they're more conversational, but we do go about talking about police reform and accountability, and the community is absolutely for that. We do want the way Minneapolis police have been functioning and moving. The consensus is we're not happy, and really the importance is police reform and ensuring that police are doing what they are here to do, which is respect the dignity of our community and protect us. So
I apologize for subjecting you. You're the only candidate I've subjected to my new character,
Is that right?
rude delegate. Yeah.
Okay.
No one else gets this treatment but you.
I think you should try it. It was good. Keep doing
Let's get a new prank phone call show where I call the candidates pretending to be a delegate and just be very rude to them. Yeah. Okay, so we're moving. It's another transit question, also public safety related.
Okay.
So Metro Transit and the Met Council seem to be relying on fare enforcement as like a proxy for public safety. Like we're going to make the trains safer by checking people's fares. And I think what is unspoken, or maybe it's not unspoken, I don't know, is that it's a way to keep trains from becoming like a de facto homeless shelter, like to increase rider comfort so they can ride the trains and not be surrounded in an environment that is basically like a homeless shelter. And so you say you want to make transit free. Like, can you talk about how you address the problems that the Met Council is trying to address? Attract riders and improve service, and also make transit free, and how that kind of goes against what their current policy seems to be?
Honestly, I really believe in addressing the root cause. So if we're talking about unsheltered people seeking, shelter and refuge on a warm train or looking for safety or the escape of harsh weather, I think we really have to focus on the supply of affordable housing, increasing shelter capacity. Nobody wants to be outside in extreme weathers, so if we really do fund these necessary services and shelters, honestly, we'll be better off. Our community will be better off, and we'll be in a better place.
Okay, we're coming down to the end.
Okay.
Do you know what the problem with DFL candidates in Minneapolis is? You
Yeah.
all use the same buzzwords on your website. Nobody can tell the difference between you. And so
Yeah.
here's your chance. What is unique and different about you? What do voters get with you that they don't get from other candidates running for 62B?
Yeah. So, that's a very good question. I get this question at the doors all the time. Um, so yes, I will say our values align. Very true. The difference between me and why I really believe I am the strongest candidate in this race is that my policy experience is is statewide. So working at Mincher as a planning director on the policy team, I rolled out policy for the entire state of Minnesota. So I did have to take into consideration all Minnesotans versus, a community or a portion of it. And then I would also say that I have not only policy experience, but I work directly in community. I work with those who are unsheltered. I work with people coming in from the encampments daily. So I would say that those two combined really make me the strongest candidate to serve 62B.
Now, the real final question is kind of a fun one.
Okay.
Do you have any new hobbies, old hobbies, something you're enjoying, a book, a movie, a game, a place, a person? Maybe not a person because they may not be willing to be recommended to a large number of people, but like, what could you recommend to the audience that you think they should check out? Could be anything. What do you really love in this world that other people could do?
I enjoy going to the gym and deadlifting.
Deadlifting.
Yeah, I'm
Give me
always
your
trying to get
stats. Do you have stats? Do you brag about your numbers?
Do I brag about my numbers? I'll post it sometimes, but that's about
Okay,
it.
let's hear
Um,
it. What are your
I'm
numbers?
I, what are my numbers? I have gotten up to 150 deadlift, 15 reps, 4 times. So,
Okay, pretty
um,
good. Do you max out? Do you ever max out? Or are you worried about hurting yourself?
no, I'm always careful. I'm not trying to ego lift. I'm not trying to hurt myself. I just like the benefits of it. After a long day, deadlifting it's a boost. It's a boost of energy. It's a good mood boost. So
That's a full body workout that you're using your back and your legs, everything, your arms.
yeah,
Does it just makes you feel good? Is that what you would rather advertise the benefits are?
the benefits are amazing. Yeah, honestly, you can have a bad day. You could be upset, and somehow deadlifting, like I'll just come back out with a smile. Like it'll be a good day. So.
Are there any other weight training exercises you enjoy?
Oh, other weight training exercises.
Just deadlifting? You don't got anything else?
I enjoy deadlifting. I enjoy this yin yang yoga. It's really slow yoga.
Okay.
But when it comes to weightlifting, it's just the deadlifts that I really
How
enjoy.
did how did you come to deadlifting?
So I ended up meeting somebody who was like an Olympic lifter, and
Okay.
they kind of just got me into it, and I've just loved it since then. So I think this is like 2.5 years into it.
And can you recommend the best footwear for deadlifting? I've done my share of deadlifting and like footwear is important when it
Where
comes.
is
You need
important?
something, you need a flat surface. You don't want to be wearing some lumpy shoes when you're doing it. So what do you wear?
Yeah, so I have like Noble. They're like based in Florida. Um, they're great for weight training. And then I also have these. I don't know what they're called, but they're from Germany. They like my doctor prescribed them. I picked them up, but they're these insoles that go in, and they're made from like cork, and it just meshes very well with the foot. So there's a lot of stability there.
Okay, here we're done. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy my cranky delegate character?
That was really good. You put. I was like, whoa. Whoa, they've
Cranky
never been that cranky though.
No, really, you've had good experience. Nobody has been as cranky as my cranky delegate character.
Yeah, no, I've not had it to that
Oh.
extent. No.
I thought I was toning it down. I hear all these horror stories from candidates who, off the record, will tell me how awful people are. But you're saying
Okay.
everyone in 62B is a joy.
Not a joy. I wouldn't say everybody has been a joy. I do get grilled, but from time to time. But the crankiest it would be, like to your point about police, is they're saying, I love the police. I think people are giving them a bad rap, or like, but
Right.
they, at the same time, no one has said that they 100% agree with how Minneapolis police function. And everyone pretty much does want to see alternative programs, and they want to see humane treatment of our community members. So you'll hear, I'm not defund the police, but I do want to see better treatment. So yeah, so it hasn't been.
People are very scarred by the last couple of years and just use defund as a litmus test for candidates all up and down the ballot, whether they have anything to do with the city or not. Anquam Mahamoud is a candidate in 62B, and this is the Wedge Live podcast. I'm your host, John Edwards.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now. Right now.